All right, are we all ready?
Ready?
Yep.
Ready.
All right, on the count of three, let's play and start Buffy. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Wow, that was abrupt.
What was abrupt?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's 90s. It just
It
jumps
was
right
just
in.
like
It's
every
I think I missed the
generation
first
there is
line.
I doubt it. It's in every lifetime. It's just like literally out of the blue.
Is that the same school that they use for 90210?
It is.
certain shots. It is.
The courtyard in the front and everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the
Oh,
same?
I love all the trivia.
Chris and I were talking before about the extras in Buffy. They use them throughout like this whole series. So you'll see them grow up and be in the background a lot throughout the entire 7 seasons.
Are they vampires? I'm gonna ask
Sorry,
that all the
no
time.
spoilers. There's no spoilers.
I just got a message from Julie on the couch, and she's like, "Oh my god, this looks horrible. I see what you mean."
I
Oh my god.
recognize this actress.
Yeah, from Dexter.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
she's done a
Rita.
lot of stuff.
I feel like this is a setup of so many horror movies, like the teenagers doing bad things.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm thinking right now. I'm like, something bad's gonna happen.
They clearly didn't watch Scream and learn Randy's rules.
Oh my god, that was creepy.
I totally forgot that. Actually, I don't even remember it, to be honest.
Oh, it's such
I
a
was
good
actually gonna
start!
I
Well,
was gonna
that was
actually
a
take a
flippin' lid right there.
bet with somebody that he was a vampire.
I was.
And there you have it. The beginning, everything you know about horror stories gets turned on its head. The men
Exactly
are
what
not
I
safe
thought.
here.
I thought it was gonna be him.
That's what they wanted you to think.
I
knew
didn't think
someone
it
was
was gonna
gonna
be
vampire-y.
either of them. I thought it was gonna be like something random.
I knew someone was gonna be turned into a vampire, but I didn't think she was gonna be the vampire.
Nicholas Brandon was who Joss originally had written the part of Mal Reynolds for Firefly.
Oh, it has Bandcamp Girl.
That's who I saw
Yes,
too.
Allison Hannigan is
Wow.
She is fantastic in this show. If you like her as an actress.
Yeah, she's great.
Oh my god!
Bandcamp
This one
Girl.
time at band camp.
Oh, from How I Met Your Mother?
Yep, that's her.
Yes.
Yes.
I knew I recognized her. I've only seen the first episode of that, but I thought I recognized.
So
It's
the
just funny to
entire
me because Allison Hannigan is always the girl from Buffy to me.
me
Yeah,
too.
me
Yeah.
too.
The entire premise of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is usually you have the damsel in distress running down the alley getting killed by the monster, and here we have the girl who's the hero. So it kind of tells you right away that this will not be a regular horse.
She kicks butt!
And my daughter always goes, could they not afford a real bus for this?
Oh, because they use the short buses.
Yeah, they use the short bus. She's like, where's the rest?
I love her bangs and her late 90s hair. It's amazing. We all look like that.
I was just
You
gonna say,
haven't.
I swear to God, I had that outfit, and my hair was the
100%
same.
have that.
It was a better time, right?
It truly
My
was.
daughter has an outfit now. All this stuff is coming.
Yeah, my
That's
daughter.
true.
She's a
Terrifying.
30-year-old on a skateboard.
I did not have that haircut. I had very short hair in the 90s.
Her long hair is wigging me out.
She's so stinking cute.
Oh my gosh, I recognize him too. I know his name.
Oh,
Yes,
he's
he's done a
been
lot
on.
of work since this as well.
Yeah.
Principal Flutie.
I can't believe I'm watching Buffy. I've held out for so long.
I can't believe I'm watching it.
Kendra, you're watching it for me. Just
I
remember.
can't believe you haven't watched this,
I
Kendra. This
am.
is
I'm only watching it for Chris.
I watch
good.
American Horror Story for Kendra, and she watches Buffy.
He's taping it back together.
And maybe I should keep this, he says. Yeah, it's great.
Asbestos.
So for those who watched the movie, she didn't burn down the gym in the movie, but she was supposed to in the original script. So this is following Joss's original script from the movie coming into this show.
That's
Oh, I
amazing.
didn't know that.
Yeah, because
I
they
do
had
like her
the
outfit.
budget didn't let them. They got a lot of stuff cut from the movie that they needed for this. So this was like
And she's a sophomore instead of a senior in this.
Probably because they had to keep her in high school for a little bit for the episodes, maybe, or the seasons.
Probably.
Old.
Diana, it really is so 90s, the clothing.
So is
It's
the idea that
amazing.
that that this series starts after the movie?
Yes,
yes,
she
it's a
moves from
continuation.
LA to Sunnydale.
Got it.
Do they even have chalkboards in school anymore? Isn't it all whiteboard?
No, they have them. They don't necessarily use them all that often.
At my son's old school, they retained all the chalkboards when they added whiteboards.
My son
And
got a new school, and they don't have any chalkboards at all. It's just like whiteboards. They have like intercom systems in the classrooms that teachers use, like microphones. And they're small rooms. I don't know why.
yeah, and my son's teachers, a lot of them
Oh,
still
you know
prefer the
Cordelia is
chalkboard.
going to be a vampire.
Oh, her pants. Ew.
No, those are vampire pants for sure.
She looks like she
I
could
love that
be a
chartreuse.
teacher. Or at least a senior.
We all
Compared
looked
to
like that in
Buffy.
the 90s. We all looked like we could be teachers in the 90s. It was a terrible time.
I love that the coolness
Oh,
factor test involves asking about the status of vamp nail polish.
Yes.
right. I remember that
Yeah.
nail
And
polish.
the nail polish that she's wearing is hard candy. So fun fact.
Look at you.
I used to like that nail
I know
polish.
things. I did a video on research on the Vamp nail polish
I
and hard
remember it was
candy.
a great
So
video.
So
that scene was in it.
I never dressed like that. I was the dark, the hipster that wore the black and stuff. So that was not me.
I feel like she's gonna sing "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time."
Well,
Yes.
Shauna, this takes place later than when you and I were in high school. This is the late 90s where we were early 90s.
Yeah, this was
That's
96. I
true.
graduated in 90.
I
This would
was
have been my
literally the same age as Buffy Summers. I was a sophomore in high school.
What
Same.
was
I
it, 97? Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
96,
97.
97.
oh, then I would have been junior.
Yeah, because I would have graduated in 90, well, 93, 94. Originally 93, but then I would have, never mind.
This library I just love so much.
Oh,
I
me too.
adore
I
this
Right.
love this set.
library.
I think it's a
Yes.
great
Yeah,
set.
that's cool. Yeah, that is really cool.
And Anthony Stewart Head.
In England, he played Brad from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, and John, you may recognize him as the former football club owner from Ted Lasso.
That thud when he
Did you
puts down the
see him
vampire book.
smile? Like, here you go.
Wait, what just happened?
Just
She
keep
went in there to
watching.
get a book, and then he put the big vampire book on there. She's like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Right.
He just does that to every student until one hits.
Also, shocking to
Wait, is
me.
that really what happened? What the crap? Am I gonna have nightmares?
That was
Hey,
the guy first seen.
by the way, you guys just remember there are newbie people here who have not seen this, and we do have a lot of cross chatter. So let's try to keep it a little bit more to a minimum, and to keep the volume on your TV low in the background.
Has anyone said yet that it's crazy that Anthony Head is in Ted Lasso?
Yes, but
I did not hear
we'll put
that.
it's
The Wiggins.
90s, the Wiggins.
Wasn't Jesse on Sons of Anarchy? Kendra, isn't that where you know him?
Which one?
The one who plays Jesse, not Xander. The taller one in the orange.
Oh, Eric Balfour?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but he's way better looking now than he was then. Like, he's a smoke show now.
He showed up in a lot of like teen movies at the time too. I just remember seeing him all the time.
Yeah.
So
I love
I
how
was
they just accept her explanation of why she has a stake. Pepper spray is so passe.
I was curious. I looked up the slang Wiggins, and it originated on Buffy.
Yep. And it caught on.
There's another
I've
phrase.
never heard that word.
There's another phrase that originated on Buffy, and when it comes up, I'll mention it. But it was the very first time I heard a very popular phrase.
Okay, Eric Balfour was not on Sons of Anarchy, but Cindy sent me a message and said he was on Haven, which I haven't seen.
Thanks.
I love that the trait of a small town like Sunnydale is the fact that it has one Starbucks in it.
I have library envy.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's
I
gorgeous.
know. This room is everything.
He's so excited. He keeps going back and forth into the room because he can't stop talking.
I just laughed out loud at the Time Life series joke.
Me too. And she's like, oh, cool.
I love Giles.
Was there a watcher in the movie?
Yes.
Yes,
And he was
Yep.
killed.
he
Yeah, it was
died.
Donald Sutherland.
Ooh, we got to watch the movie.
We
Yeah,
have.
it's really good.
Yeah, I'll watch it again.
We'll watch.
I'm
Yeah, I'll watch
always
it.
down to watch some Paul Rubens. Come on now.
I'm very into this. This is cool. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah, and now we have the lore of how a vampire is made and what kills
Yep.
Maybe you weren't ready for it at the time, John, and now you're ready.
Yeah, the universe kept it from you for a reason.
Hey, look, that was a bigger butt.
The one.
This is the Hell's Mouth, right?
Uh,
Hellmouth.
it could be, but it might not be.
We
It's
don't
rubble.
know.
If it's not, I'm going to be really disappointed because it looks wicked.
It's a good set. It really is.
Oh, Kendra, I'm so glad you're watching this.
Oh, that guy. Ew.
Who's this guy?
I feel like he's in a lot of stuff.
He's the history teacher. No,
He was in Charmed season 5, the season finale. He was one of the gods if you watch that.
I love Charm.
Yes, I thought I saw him in Charmed.
I hate Charmed with an ever-loving passion.
Listen, we'll talk about it later.
I forgive you.
will there be boys there? This is gonna be John in like 16 years. Will there be boys there, Josie?
Her facial expressions when she when Buffy says something she's not really supposed to is really good. She's just like, "Whoo."
You know, it's interesting because her mom, Buffy's mom, she actually reminds me of one of my mom's friends that actually just came by tonight because to give us some how to get over COVID medication and stuff. And so, it's just funny because I was like, well, who does she remind me of? I'm like, oh yeah.
It's kind of fun when you see somebody who reminds you of a real person, right? Well, not
Yeah,
a real. They're all real people, but somebody you know in real life.
yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to see a backflip here.
In
John,
those
you want to?
shoes?
Oh, that I know that
Spoiler alert.
profile. That's a very distinctive silhouette.
Oh yeah.
That hair.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Do you
exciting.
mean it's Nick Holmes? Nick Holmes is on
Wait,
this show,
wait.
Not just a
The
backflip.
the way that the light hits him is like always my favorite.
and that is something that would look
Oh
So
yeah.
different on
handsome.
Amazon.
He
Yeah.
he
LOL.
is like he is still hot. Like I watch Bones because of him.
Yeah, I liked him on Bones too.
The hair is so boy band though.
He's so young.
It's
The
he
clean
looks like
cut.
a
No.
baby.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got like a Nick Lachey thing going on.
yeah, Elle. It's very late '90s.
Hmm. He actually got this job because they were looking for Angel and they had been, auditioning tons and tons of people. And then one of the producers saw him walking down the street walking his dog and was like, "That's Angel." And they had him come in and read with Sarah.
He's wearing a satin jacket.
He's a vampire. They do that.
Do you think is it satin or is it that weird velvet kind of
I
Wait,
don't know.
wait
The
a
thing he
second.
lighting
wears?
is
Wait,
real bad.
wait.
Floor.
Hold on. Hold on. Did we just let the line "ready for the harvest" pass, and there was
Yep.
no reference whatsoever to harvesting?
And no
I mean,
kernels.
come on.
I was
Am
gonna
I the
say
only one
something.
watching this right
No,
now?
no, John, we're all distracted by his shiny suit and his cheekbone.
Who is
So
he? I
John's
Yeah,
don't think
John,
this
nickname is
get
guy
with the
is.
Angel.
program.
You could tell her some Angel fans.
So there are clubs in America that let 16-year-olds in?
Yeah, there are some
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are under.
Yeah, they just like mark them as underage so they can get out.
Or they have like a teen night.
But we
Oh,
had
Veronica,
chem free ones.
I went to an all age club when I was a teenager, and it let anybody of any age, and you could go in there if you were 10 on a Sunday night.
I mean, or sometimes you just like get in because you have fake IDs. I'm not saying I had one, but I had one.
Just borrow your friend's real ID and
There
then
are a lot. There are a
wash
lot
your
of
hands.
underage clubs.
Yeah, we had one for the ages of I think it was 15 to 22. So, yeah.
Not in Ohio. I don't know of one.
Yeah, we don't have any anymore, but back then in the 90s, it was a big thing. Like the chem free clubs were.
I definitely didn't have anything like this when I was this age. I was in a smaller town, so there was not a cool club definitely like this anymore.
Yeah, we didn't have one of these either, but we had a lot of 18 and older clubs. So when I was like 19, I did a lot of clubbing with one of my friends. We just didn't drink at the bar because we had to have I didn't have a fake ID. No, neither of us did. So,
Elle, tell me what you think of the blue eyeshadow.
Oh, I love it so much.
It comes,
Tomorrow I'm wearing blue eyeshadow.
I think it comes back around about every 10 years, big doesn't.
It's very season one
Yeah.
Lorelai too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I never wore blue eyeshadow ever. I never have. I never will.
It's
Oh,
not
Something to
fun.
try out.
the frosted. I did
No.
frosted white and frosted blue, and then you had the other lip gloss. That was the 90s.
And white eyeliner was a big deal at this
And
time.
there's little tiny butterfly clip things. There's little teeny tiny things where you would twist the sides of your hair and then you would put those little clips in.
And it's back. My daughter just bought a pack and wore them in her hair the other day. I was like, you got to be kidding.
Good news. That's good news.
I was going to say, I
I
never
used to wear
stopped using those.
I used to wear those all the time. I used to try
I want to bring back the
and thought it was
updo with
cool.
the tendrils and the bangs situation that
Yes.
so my prom pictures finally look cool.
Does anybody even like care that the librarian is at the club with the kids?
It
It's
seems
so
pretty
weird.
normal to me. How do you do, fellow kids?
What
And
about
then
banana?
he was stalking her in the hallway that day too, and putting his hand in front of her like, "Don't walk away from me."
I'm just here to watch you.
Watch her.
It's his title.
Oh, there it is again, the harvest.
The harvest doesn't seem like a good thing to me.
Only if you get kernels for it.
He's from 6 Feet Under.
Anyone else is like not a big fan of Cordelia at all?
Yeah, no, she's not.
Not at
She's
first,
not a nice.
but
I don't like her.
no. She always plays characters like this. Like when she was in, well,
No spoilers, Nicole.
Was she on
uh,
Sabrina?
no.
But
I've
there's a
never
character
seen.
just like her on Sabrina, isn't there?
I just didn't know when we were talking about another show, maybe
If
possibly
if it's
watching. I didn't
if
know if
it's
you knew
related
things.
to if it's related to this show, it could contain spoilers, so we don't talk about
Yeah,
She's super pretty
Okay.
though. Give her that. She's like the best teeth.
She originally auditioned for Buffy.
I didn't know that.
it. Yeah, she did. And
yeah,
Buffy, Sarah originally auditioned for Cordelia.
I'm really glad Sarah Michelle Gellar was Buffy.
I also can't believe that Charisma Carpenter was 27 when this was filmed.
yes. And she was a cheerleader for and uh, basketball league at the time.
Well, just like with Gilmore Girls with Lane, or I mean, Keiko.
We're getting some more Slayer lore here. She can sense the vampire.
You can pick them out by their 1980s looks.
Yeah, or just look at them.
Look at that jacket.
I'm sure this has been mentioned, but the music.
The music is so good in this show, John.
It's so good.
Seriously.
Super good.
There
I
was
think the
actual
whole
like soundtrack you could buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
it's
all
good.
the signed soundtracks.
Okay.
But this was when they started. This show kind of started having the whole trend of having the guest appearance of bands and stuff on television shows.
Yeah, because in the Bronze, where they are, that's a stage up there they have up front and stuff. So, yeah, it's good music in this.
I mean, the WB was like really, that was like their whole jam was like music in the show.
I like music, and I don't know who that was. Who was that band? They sounded like 90s rock band that I wouldn't have listened to.
Yeah,
They use
I mean, I get why people would be into it. Well, not my thing, but funny music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets better. Don't worry.
That's my favorite Cordelia line.
she pulls the phone antenna out. I haven't seen one of those.
There was an antenna.
I love it because like most people did not have a cell phone at this time, so that was just the most dramatic, like cool girl response.
I had like
Yeah,
I had one friend that had a cell phone, and it had the big long antenna.
This band is Sprung Monkey.
Look, it's Dexter's wife.
I didn't
now
have a
see,
Oh,
cell
that
phone.
guy.
when I watched Dexter, I didn't think of her as Dexter's wife. I thought of her as Darla from Buffy.
Yeah, same. I was like, look, it's
Oh,
Darla.
look at this guy.
Yeah, me
Charlie,
too.
close your eyes.
Oh, Kendra.
Oh my
Very
gosh,
Voldemort.
what is
I'm looking
happening?
away
Straight up
from
Yes.
the
Voldemort.
front of the TV.
This is such a
Me
Kendra
too.
moment, I'm sure of.
I didn't have a cell phone until I was like 21. 'Cause my parents couldn't afford for everybody to have it, so I had to pay for it myself.
Oh, I love this dude. I
Right?
want more of him.
Can I look at?
No.
He looks very
Crystal.
Nosferatu or
I feel like
whatever that
every
old.
I feel like every time they reference the harvest, I want to go into the Remarkast app and quickly harvest before the harvest
That's
windows.
called
Get
a
a screenshot
Pavlovian
of him
response.
like for the harvest, like ready for the.
I
Yeah,
like the
we're
design of him
conditioned.
because you can clearly tell that he's older than the other vampires. You know, like it's distinct and very much a throwback to Nosferatu. Whoever.
Very
Yes,
good.
Yeah,
Right,
I
Charlie?
the
love
wrinkles
him.
are.
Yeah,
Am I good now?
He remind
I think you're good.
he, remind, he reminds me of Voldemort a little bit.
the hairlessness.
I love that the
Hmm.
vampires sound a little stuffed up, like sniffly, because of those prosthetics.
I they remind me of like on the Twilight Zone and on Seinfeld where they were the pig men where they were the little pig masks.
That's one of the best episodes ever.
It is.
Shelley, did you hear when Hunter said that they only had enough budget to make 3
Yeah, I
prosthetics
just
for
actually
them?
told my husband that. And my husband said that he understood the show to be like a show that guys watched because of the girls. So and I never heard that.
I never heard that really.
But now he's thinking maybe he was thinking of Charmed. Could that have been possible? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I don't get a good feeling about this guy.
You'll be okay, Charlie.
I don't think he's a vampire, though.
I don't know.
I think he's
Oh,
just a
he's a vampire.
jerk. You think so? I think he's just a creep.
Yes,
Well,
he's
I
a
think
vampire.
that for sure. Yeah.
Buffy
Just
thinks
don't
he's a
know if he has
vampire.
something else.
I think they want us to think he
They're
is.
both vampires.
Renee.
Oh, man, I was wrong.
Although he might not be a vampire because we were told that they have to actually use the same vampire makeup on everybody. So how could they be both vampires in the scene?
They had 3 prosthetics, so they can both be. Just no more than
No.
3 in a
I kind of had a feeling that this actor was going because I was like, I've never seen this actor ever again.
scene.
Eric Balfour? He's in so
Six Feet
much.
Under.
Tons of stuff.
He was in there probably one of the longest. That's probably his longest show running.
He's a vampire.
DeBarge was a 1980s music group.
Yeah, she talked about
Everybody caught
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
at the bronze. She referred to him wearing 1980s jacket. So
Sarah was also a brown belt when she got this role too. So like she auditioned and was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I do martial arts."
Uh oh. Harvest.
15 minutes to
Our fake harvest right now.
yeah. The vampires keep reminding.
This guy is a piece of work.
He looks like the guy from Men in Black that has the Edgar suit.
Oh yeah, I remember who you're talking about.
Ju- Julie on the beanbags just pointed out the line, "Come the harvest, you will be restored."
Where's the Watcher now?
Watching.
Just reading. He's just reading a book.
You mentioned it.
He's researching.
What?
Dun, dun,
What?
Are
dun.
you freaking
Oh
kidding me?
no.
What?
Episode
That.
1.
Yeah,
Yay.
originally it was supposed to be 1 and 2 back to back. It was featured, in the UK as a double feature.
It was here too. It was
Yeah, it
two
was here
episodes in a
too.
row.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Gonna
That
say
makes so
to
much more
be
sense.
continued on a pilot.
Yep.
I will say that's kind of a funny to be continued, because we know he's out there.
Yeah.
He threw her into the tomb, so we know that he's out there. So it's kind of a redundant moment, right?
Yeah, it is. It totally. But it, for I think I don't know if they wanted it to be a back to back feature. Like they premiered it as a 2 hour thing. So I'm not sure if they initially wrote it as just like a one episode, and then they're like, no, let's just play them all together. So I don't know.
Well, I don't think this vampire is gonna last long. That that's my guess. This
Hot
vampire is
take.
this vampire is going to crumble to dust very soon. That was another remark. Another remark
I
is
I
after.
got it.
Are you liking Luke to a memento?
I'm just waiting for somebody to mention fortification, somebody to mention frosting.
Oh no.
Then I'll be like, oh my goodness, my work here is done.
I,
I think
I,
I
I,
need to watch a Gilmore Girls episode now.
I did see that the title for episode 2 is The Harvest.
The
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
harvest.
So
yeah.
Charlie,
That will be good. Everyone harvest for the harvest.
Charlie, did it scare you? Was it as scary as you thought it was going to be?
I don't know, but I think I should watch a Gilmore Girls episode before I try to fall asleep.
Really?
What did you think? What did you think of it? What did you think of it, Charlie?
I mean, I want to see what happens next, but like, it's creepy looking, and I don't do creepy.
Right.
Like,
That's true. You're really not into that whole.
yeah, I can't do like the thriller and stuff. Chris talked me into it, but I was like, I
You
don't
got
know
you've got
about
to give it a
this.
couple more. It really
Yeah.
it's It's not as horrific as you're imagining overall.
It's really not, and the characters will get you. I promise.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of blood. It seems to be. It seems like at least when she fights the vampires, they just basically like explode into like a little puff of dust.
That
She
was the
dusts them.
actual reason why I watched this show, because when I saw the first episode and there was no blood, I was able to watch I was able to keep watching, and because they turned to dust, and that was oddly comforting for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't like
I'm sort of the
a
same
lot
way
of
because
gore
it's
either.
not it's not that blood like gives me the what did she say, the wiggles, or what
The
what was
Wiggins.
it,
Wiggins.
the Wiggins? Not like the blood gives me the Wiggins, but I don't like looking at fake movie blood. So
Yeah,
this is good. This is good. Although the makeup is I'm gonna have to get over that. I'm
yeah,
gonna have to get over that white powdery
It's just season one.
makeup. That's
It's just season one, Jen.
yeah. They had a horrible
Yeah.
budget. They couldn't help it. It'll
I
get better.
mean, I don't mind like vampire stuff, but I think it's just like the prosthetics and the makeup that's getting me on it. It's just
yeah.
like it's creepy looking.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The two
For me,
opposite
it's
ends of
just
the
goofy
spectrum here,
looking.
talking John and
Yeah,
Charlie.
we
John
are
thinks
really
it's
the
cool.
opposite
John
end.
doesn't get into it, think it's that creepy looking, and Charlie's like, it's creepy looking.
Oh,
Yeah, I
What
don't
about
think
the
that it's
rest of you?
I don't think it's creepy looking, but I'm the same. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for that to be over. I can't wait for us to get to some better
I'm a
budgets
little
for this
Yeah,
annoyed.
show.
I'm a little annoyed I didn't see any extra elbows.
Well, I
Well,
they're
mean,
coming.
me
it's not
both.
in every episode.
I would have loved to see an elbow or two.
Nancy,
oh,
it's not in all the episodes. It's just it
I
depends on
know,
the
I'm just
episode.
okay. I'm like, because I didn't see anything weird or any extra scenes or anything in the, or anything in the shadows. Or it said maybe I'm just like naive or clueless, and I just try to watch the episode.
But your lighting, the way that your episodes are lighted, will be not quite as dark as the Hulu versions.
Yeah,
There's a
even
lot of
this
very dark
episode,
stuff.
it's lightened up on, even like it starts right here in this episode.
I'm gonna
So you're not
watch.
getting the
Okay,
I
so
think I'm gonna watch it on Hulu with the ads after and see what the difference is.
It's a good idea.
Okay, guys, I have the series page up. The title of episode 3, I'm excited for. It's The Witch. So I'm sticking with you.
nice.
If there's
I
witches, I will keep at it.
oh girl,
Come
there's
on,
a lot of
Kendra.
witches.
So
I think you're gonna dig
Yes.
the master and stuff too. I think it's gonna be more than just the witches that you like.
okay, so let me. I got some questions.
Yes, shoot.
So um, so the idea is that whatever happened in the movie is really the origin story of Buffy, because this episode sort of starts with like she already knows she's a slayer, she's already a slayer, she's left her home, she's come to this new place, there's a new person who knows she's a slayer. um how much of the movie do you I feel like I need to know more information about the movie in order to really understand who she is. She's not in
You
the movie,
don't.
is she?
No,
I yeah,
her character is, but
No, it's
like
Hunter, you don't.
Christy
It,
Swanson.
right,
they meant it to be able to be watched without having seen the movie. You will learn
right.
more
Yeah,
backstory,
just
John.
it definitely, this episode definitely felt like, wait, is this the first episode? Like there were a lot of parts where I felt like I
Hmm.
had missed something because there was a lot of information and um, like
Yeah, I especially
I
with
don't
the
know,
conversation with the
jar.
principal.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was a lot of jargon and with is his name Giles?
Yes,
Yes.
And with Giles,
Mr.
that
Giles, because
Mr. Giles, that I thought was very much like I need to know what they're talking about here. They seem to be talking like referencing something that I should know, but I
Mhm.
don't. Um,
They,
so the
I
Borean.
didn't watch the season. I watched the whole first season before I saw the movie. So like you
Mm,
don't need it to know what's going on, but it is kind of helpful, but it's not really necessary.
But
And
then
the
you
way the execution of the movie is not very well done, so it's kind of like it's not necessary. Like they do a good job with between the mother and Giles and the principal of letting you know she was at a different school, something happened with the vampires. There was obviously a fire. She burned down the gym, which was not in the movie. Um, and they let you know that she transfers to this school because of that situation.
right.
also in
And
the
so
movie, some of the signs of how she knows there's a vampire around are a little different than they are actually in the TV show. Like
Yeah.
they almost made it. The movie's kind of. I really do like the movie, but it's very B style camp. And
right.
when Buffy gets near a vampire in the movie, she gets cramps, like menstrual style cramps.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
walks
okay.
around not feeling it. Now, this Buffy doesn't have that kind of reaction. So there are little differences. And the stuff that Giles is talking to Buffy about, like the stuff when they're kind of trying to explain some of the lore in this first episode, it's stuff that is similar to what you learn from the movie, but I think it's a little more refined and a little bit better, less cheese and corn to it in that way.
Exactly.
So is the idea that the world is a place of vampires, or is the idea that vampires only are like they only come out of or converge around very specific places, or is it that they kind of follow slayers, or is it that slayers sort of are attracted to areas just out of just for reasons that they don't, that the slayer doesn't even understand, that is where vampires are? Or is it like we don't really need to know, it's just a
These are
story
all
against?
questions I cannot answer without ruining things for
Yeah.
people who have not seen.
Well, I mean, at the very least, we know that she was fighting vampires in LA, and
Yeah.
now she's moved to a new place that just happens to have vampires.
Hmm.
So I guess a better question is this something that her character might already be wondering?
Well, did you hear when Giles explained to her like what the history of Sunnydale was?
um
He kind of gave a little bit of a an explanation. I know a lot of us were kind of chatting and but there
Yeah,
are
that was
parts where
that was around the time that I did double headphones. What was it that he said?
well he talks about how there's like a convergence of things that happen in this town like for a really long time. This town,
Mystical
you know,
energy.
yeah. And so it's he thinks that she came to this town for a reason, not because she knew she should needed to be there, but he kind of finds it like a destiny kind of thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
she
So
he is
Slayer.
sent
So
there because she needs a new watcher. So he's sent there to be her new watcher.
oh, he was
But
sent there. He's new to the school.
Yeah. This is his
yeah,
first year. Willow said that he's a new
Got
librarian, and
it.
she was like,
Right.
he's new.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's new as well.
Got it. Got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
The first
he
first part of the episode, I think I'm going to need to watch it again because I think I missed a lot. Um. So then Buffy or Slayers. I guess we'll find out if there are more than one Slayer in a world
Right.
in the world, or if Slayers are like there's only one Slayer on Earth at a time, and if there
He
were
said it.
previous Slayers. He did.
At the very
Yeah.
beginning where we were like, wow, that was abrupt. He's like, into every generation, one
But even
Slayer
when
is
the
Oh right.
born.
Oh right.
comes
She
Okay.
back
alone.
to him in when after she finds out that there was a kid dead in the locker, she goes to him in the library and he tells her
With
that
every generation. That's right. That's right. That's
yep.
right. I do remember that. So with every generation, that would mean that a new Slayer is born into a new, like there was a Gen X Slayer,
Hmm.
a Gen Y Slayer, a Millennial Slayer,
yeah,
right?
so that's why like in some of these scenes where he's talking to her, that is them explaining the stuff that if you hadn't seen the movie, all that it's the same stuff. So like you're not really missing anything from the movie other than the cheesy kind of early 90s fun sort
Which
of
is
beat down
it's
movie. And
totally worth it.
yeah, yeah, it's totally worth watching, but
Right.
it's just kind of like the what you find out in this episode is not really like you're not missing stuff from the movie. The only thing that is different is that in the movie she is a senior in high school in LA, but and she doesn't actually burn down the gym like she was supposed to in the original script. But in this one, they bring her in as that, and that's kind of where they start off from. So they kind of explain things through the other characters, like Hunter said. But it's only the first half of like a 2 episode premiere kind of thing. So
And
Right.
you
there's
might
We'll get
find out
more.
more soon.
and there's a fan theory that River Tam is a Slayer.
Well,
Oh.
I was actually texting with Mary about the backflip joke that I'm always making, and I said that it looks like Buffy was River before there was a river. That it feels like Buffy kind of is going to have a lot of the tropes that I was associating with River while watching the series that we didn't really get to until the movie.
Right.
Um, but you know, she's like balancing flawlessly on a pole. I mean, she's clearly like an expert fighter. So a part of me is asking like, where'd she learn that? You know, like I like that. That's what I mean when I say like this first episode really like there are a lot of questions that I have, but in a way that makes me feel like there's something before that I should have watched that I missed.
No,
Um,
I think more of those holes get filled in later. And also Joss Whedon, the movie wasn't really his vision because it wasn't what exactly he wanted to do. So the series is definitely what he wants to do with.
Yeah, so it's like he took what he originally put into a screenplay and he rebooted it into a TV series in
hmm,
with his own way of the way, and that's why like when we were saying the way it's shown on Hulu is the way he wanted his show to be done, and the remaster version kind of takes away a little bit of that with the lighting and things like that that Hunter was talking about. But it's he rewrote a little bit like the history of Buffy. He aged her down back to a sophomore, burned down the school, a couple other things that really didn't happen in the movie that get referenced here and there. But it's not important to have seen the movie to enjoy the show because it's really that's why we were saying you really have to give the show a few episodes before you either give up on it or you really know because like it's just there's stuff that happens over the first few episodes that will answer some of these questions for
okay,
you.
so all right,
And
Hmm.
that's
no,
fair.
that's okay. I
That's
just really, it's
but
like you're
I,
asking these things,
I
and I'm
have a
like, oh, I know the
but I
answer
have
to
a
that. I
question.
know the
But
answer to that.
I do have a question about some stuff here. So she burned. Is he saying she actually burned the school down or burned the gym down? What,
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he said.
that she purposefully did so?
Yes.
Yes.
It was because she said it was full of asbestos. So like the gym was full of vampires. So she burned it down to kill.
And will we get any answers to what the repercussions of her burning down
Yeah,
a
She
she
got
got
gym
sent to
school
She got
expelled,
kicked out
and
of
Sunnydale.
so
that
that's why
school.
they moved here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she got kicked out
Well,
of the
there was a
school.
big fight scene at the end of the movie. There was this big fight scene, and it shows fire, but it doesn't show that it was all burnt down. It just kind of ends when the fight's over,
Right.
you know.
That was one of the changes, Nicole, that the studio made
Mhm.
to the movie that Joss
Yeah.
had written differently in the
Yeah.
script. So in the TV
Mhm.
show, he put what he originally had in his movie into the TV show, as opposed to ending it the way the movie ended.
They
Right.
But
do
So
kind
because
of,
of that, she gets expelled, and they have to move to Sunnydale.
So
and that's why her mom, when she dropped her off, said, "And try not to get kicked out."
Yeah, so her mom got a new job and moved into Sunnydale because she got expelled from her school. And, her mom seems to think that maybe a new fresh start will help her out. That's what she was talking to her about in the bedroom, like maybe to not hang out with the bad crowd and stuff like that.
yeah, I
So,
mean, the show is brilliant because of that. Because it's a really common trope of like, innocent girl falls in with bad crowd and gets in a lot of trouble, and so let's remove her from the situation and like have a fresh start. Just like such a teenage story trope. And so that's why I love the show, because she is clearly dealing with a lot of internal drama that, like, no one can know about. Like she says, like, no one can know that I'm like saving everybody's lives and my own, and yet I'm the one who gets in trouble or whatever. So it's like this, it's like a super, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like an exaggerated version of like a common teenage problem, where it's like no one understands me, and I don't, like, no one gets who I am, and I did a bad thing, but like I had a reason and I got expelled. Oh no, now we have to move. Like, it's just like all those things which like happen in so many other stories. But for Buffy, it's like, it's obviously a bigger thing, and it's life and death, and she's clearly trying to like save the world, and no one knows. And so that's why I think the writing is brilliant, because it's a common teenage problem. Girl burns down school, gets expelled.
But wait,
Diana
wait. You
you
mean
drive
it's
to
a
do that?
common teen? It's a common. That's not.
She's
You're
What I mean is,
she's being
exaggerating a
like,
little.
sarcastic.
she quote unquote fell in with the bad crowd, as her mom
I
said.
see.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking like kid burns down school. The next scenes of the story are kid in like kid and parents like in a court of law, like
Right.
This
like I'm
is the
imagining
90s,
school,
and
like
she's
school suing them. I mean, like I
sorry. This is not only is this the 90s, but she's blonde and pretty.
right.
Like, I no.
Right.
Right. That
I
was sort of what I was getting at, which was that he purposefully burned down the school, expelled, and have to leave to go to a new school seems, uh,
very
I
light.
guess,
Yeah.
hard to believe would be would be an understatement.
My take from this, after, like, I watched the first season and we had a whole summer to sit and ponder about things, was that, she is the Slayer and it was full of asbestos, the gym. So, and we see that, like, here the council has sent her a new watcher. My take on this was that whatever this council is, probably, I'm not sure if it's ever said, but they kind of talked about it in this episode, got Buffy's mother the job at this new place and took care of that situation in LA for her to come to this spot.
Oh, that's
That was
cool.
my
I
take
like
on it.
that. That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. It's I still the principal. If the principal knows she burned down the school, I
Yeah.
mean, that's like his reaction to it seems a few notches lower than what I would expect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a story and it's from the '90s, absolutely. But like,
Well,
um,
I think the principal was talking to her before he really read her file, and then he read that and he
And
taped
he
it all
taped it
back
back
together
together.
after thinking he was just gonna like rip it up because it'd be no big deal, and then he realized, well, maybe it is a big deal. I better keep this.
Yeah.
Well,
so
you know,
Boreanaz character. Um, this is this. Uh, I'm spoiled, unfortunately, because
Right.
Because
I
you
mean,
know who
obviously,
he is. Yeah.
yeah, and you know who he is. But what I didn't really know, like this episode was, I felt like I was watching something I'd never seen before, with the exception of a couple moments. And that moment, that particularly that moment, I don't even remember her doing the little flip on the bar and kicking him. But I do remember the two of them having this this scene. And I remember the reason why I remember it is because I remember having the same reaction to it that I had watching it here, which was I knew he was I knew who he was because I mean, obviously, you're like I know the
Mhm.
spinoff and whatnot,
Mhm.
right? But was surprised because I think I thought he was a villain, and that speech seems to suggest that even though I know what I know about the character, he
Right.
seems to be actually like aligned with her with her goals.
Right.
I think that's what
which
they
is
want you to think, though. I think because
yeah.
obviously when this show first started, nobody would have known who he was, and even in this episode, he's not named in this episode. You know, she refers to him as your friend when she's talking to Giles. Oh, yeah, I met your friend, and Giles is like, what friend? You know, and so because he called himself out. Well, when she said asked who he was, he says, I'm a friend.
Hmm.
You know, tosses her the box and walks away, and she just kind of like, you're not really supposed to know exactly who he is or what side he's on or what he's even fully talking about. It's like he's kind of part of the mystery still at this point. And it's just like, but anybody who has any knowledge or has seen ads or magazine articles or anything relating to the show would definitely know who he is if if they've paid any attention to what he's played in the past, the actor. But at this point, when you're new to the show, and if you don't know all that stuff, you don't really know who he is. So it's the feeling you got is like what they want,
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
kind of. I mean, if I really didn't know who he was, then that moment would have definitely, I would have, my imagination might have gone all over the place, and I wouldn't probably, I would have assumed that he was um, a friend of of Mr. Giles. Um, but because I do kind of because I am kind of spoiled, it was a different kind of moment of like, huh, which because like I said, I actually, but I mean, again, maybe I'm not that spoiled, but well, I mean,
You're
yeah,
spoiled
I
enough
guess
that you
I'm not that
know who
spoiled.
the character is.
I'm spoiled enough to
Yeah,
know what the character is, but I actually guess I wasn't spoiled in that I thought the character's role was different. But maybe I'll be surprised again because right now I feel like this will be a Buffy ally, not a Buffy enemy.
we should ask
Right.
some of the others who've never seen the show what they think about that particular
Right.
character and their
And
thoughts when he first came on screen, other than
and
that he
also
had good hair.
remember, like, at this point, this is 1997. This is the first kind of vampire show that we have. So any kind of thought you might have on who he is and what he like, we didn't have any of those presumptions yet because none of this had been done yet. Is what I'm trying to say. If you catch my
What
drift,
Yeah, it was like
exactly
one
what
what
of
do
the
you
I'm
mean
laying
first
none
down.
of
shows in this
what do you
genre.
mean none of this has ever been done before?
They
You mean
had
just the series?
this type of series for a young adult audience. They
Oh,
Yeah,
I
hadn't
this
see.
Well,
type
done
of
it
it's
kind of
series
thing.
with the
pre.
girls and yeah, like
Right.
I'll text.
Well, I
Pre
mean,
Vampire Diaries,
well,
pre Twilight.
Right,
yes, but Anne Rice was already getting us primed for romances between vampires
Right,
and
but those
specific
were
and specifically like handsome male vampires like that was already kind of a trope in the late 80s early
but that's not
90s.
what we
right, but
mean though. We mean like Buffy, the character of Buffy, this
Oh,
and
oh
being
yeah.
yeah,
the
those were books. Like we didn't have a show like this yet. This was first.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
yeah.
I thought we were talking about the David Boreanaz character, but
Well,
yeah,
I
yeah.
am,
anybody
but
I
has
agree.
yeah.
a do you have a little man crush on David Boreanaz's character?
He's cutie.
Just kidding.
I mean,
He's
who
got nice cheekbones.
wouldn't?
Right?
So what
I
about
told
the
you how he
those
got the job. Look at him.
what about the rest of you who hadn't seen this before? I know Charlie was a little creeped out by some of these characters, but like when they brought in that character, the one that was trying to give her warnings and gave her the necklace and all that stuff, what did you guys think of that? Anyone who hasn't seen it before? Bueller? Bueller? Regina?
It's the one who gave who gave Buffy the necklace, the one with the very wrinkled satin and or
Yes.
velour.
Crushed
Yes.
velvet.
That's it.
The one that
I
the one in the alley, the one who had followed her into the alley. That
I don't know. I remember watching that and I was like kind of standoffish on that. I might have to rewatch so I could tell you like a better feeling or a better judgment call on that particular scene. But I mean, overall, watching this for the very first time, I loved it. So there's that. I'm hooked. You're gonna
hear
have me here
it.
for the first
Yeah.
season, like the rest of the season, the second. I'm here. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
Good.
going to have to rewatch it.
same.
Um, I'm not hooked yet. You still haven't hooked me. And I did watch a few episodes here and there because my little sisters, holy hell, they watched this religiously. They watched Angel. They talked about it all the time. I just ignored them. They were background noise to me because they were so much younger than me. But they're still huge, huge fans. So maybe I'll get it at some point.
But we'll have
Yeah,
you through the
Maybe.
witch episode at least, obviously.
Yes, I'm excited for witches.
I'm
yeah.
definitely ready for like I'm hooked. I can't wait to watch the next episode. I'm super excited.
I'm not hooked. I'm gonna have to rewatch, but I'm willing to give it give it a go.
Like I said, if you aren't, just like, it's the first season. This is like a prologue for six great seasons. So just wait for plot to kick in later.
I'm
Uh,
And
I was just
excited,
gonna say
but I
also this is the first half of what happens tomorrow,
think if I'm gonna
or
watch
to a
vampire
Thursday.
stuff, I feel like I need higher quality or something. Maybe more like sex or something. I don't know. I need it to
What?
be dirtier or something.
Well, then
This is a
you should
WB show,
watch.
I
Shelley.
love True
This was a
Blood. True
WB
Blood's
show.
good.
We're
I know.
no,
teenagers.
I didn't watch
I
any WB shows in high
I got a
school.
text message from a friend who wants to introduce. I don't think that they came tonight, but they were going to come. Um, that that she wanted to introduce her daughter, her young daughter, to Buffy, and asked whether or not it was too adult. And I and I actually said, I said, well, we have a community member who said that she used to act out full episodes with her friends when they were 10 years old. So I think that you're probably okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you want more adult vampire, you need to watch True Blood.
That's what I said. That's
Because,
I'm a big fan of True
yeah,
Blood. So that's what
me
I
too.
think we should. But I never watched any of these WB shows at all. Even though that was my time to watch TV. I didn't watch any of that stuff.
Except Gilmore Girls.
No, I didn't. I didn't watch Gilmore Girls till 2016, 15,
Ah, okay.
like that.
Well,
Yeah,
I have to
Netflix.
but
say, like,
I
go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, I think you really learn to love the characters too. Like it's not so much, oh, I like it because I like vampires, or so, or whatever. But it's like, oh, they're so great, Buffy and Willow and Xander and Josh.
I'm sure I'll watch it with you guys, but I probably would have never watched it on my own with
Well,
the.
my sense is, from what I've heard from a lot of people, including both of our hosts, is that the second season is really where this series finds its legs, where it gets a but much like better budget, and is kind of the beginning of where it starts to become a real smash hit. Um,
Right. Yeah.
so
That's
so
that's why
so
I
I
always
so I
call
sort
this
of feel,
like a prologue. This is just a
because
prologue. You
originally,
don't know what you're in.
and because originally the idea was we were gonna put it on as a slate show for season one, but then talking to Hunter, it seemed like really we kind of need to get to we need to finish season two before we could potentially let this series sort of run, kind of run free on Remarcus, like meaning somebody else would take it on as a non-slate show after.
I mean,
Although who knows? Maybe if this becomes really big and we start bringing in like Buffy fans to want to watch with us, then I'd be open to the idea that we just keep going and we keep it on our slate until we're finished with it. I mean, I'm open to that kind of thing, but I do think that at the very least we should try. Like, you should try, even if you're kind of like, it's not really my thing right now. Like, let's try to get into season two before fully making a judgment on the series because it seems like the series became the hit that it is because of what
Yeah.
comes past this
Yeah, this
season.
is
That's why I
12
mentioned that this was just
episodes.
yeah, it's only 12 episodes. And that's why I mentioned that this was just, they picked it up as an off season pickup show for the show Caroline. So they didn't have any budget, and the studio didn't have any faith in it at all. So Joss was just kind of doing these kind of like, monster of the week type things, whatever. And the story doesn't really develop until after they got the thumbs up to do a second season.
It's worth
Yeah,
it.
I was gonna say, like, anytime I've watched this pilot again, which hasn't been too many times, it feels like really retro in a way. Like it feels like not really the same show that I remember. Um and partly it's just because of the look of it. Like it looks a little bit like dated in a way that I don't remember it. But I will also say that like I remember all of the ads for the show. Like, and I had a friend in high school who was like obsessed with vampires, and I had no idea why we were friends. I was like, I don't get it at all. And she couldn't wait for the show, and obviously watched it the night it premiered and all that stuff. And I full on skipped it. I was like, I'm not gonna be watching that. Like you're in that alone. And what they did was, because the WB didn't really have any programming, they reran it that weekend. Like they ran it in
Yeah.
like the middle of the day on Saturday. And I remember being home and I just happened to turn it on because there was nothing else on TV, and it hooked me about 20 minutes in, and I sat there for the next hour and a half because it was 2 episodes, and I really became hooked on it from that rerun. And so I ended up watching the entire series, at the appointed time on whatever night it was on
Must be
because
Tuesday.
of that rerun.
Tuesday
What
nights.
night?
It
What was
must
it?
the joke, the running joke. It must be Tuesday.
Yeah,
Remember?
it was Tuesday. I remember it was Tuesday. Like I totally remember it was Tuesday. Yeah, I remember the joke too. But, season 2 though, yeah, like I mean, it looks a little creepy, and like, I think it looks creepy because it looks like not completely done, like it's almost like they half-assed it in a way, and like that's I think that's what changes along the way, is that it looks so much better in later seasons, and it looks really cool. And of course the drama is really well written, and the character development is incredibly written, and so it is one of those things that if the first episode didn't get you, I actually don't blame you, because it took
Yeah.
me like that Saturday rewatch to like actually get into it.
And
I
I think this is one of the reasons why I was like a little sad that we did Firefly before this, because when coming off Firefly with the CGI and all that stuff, and then we have to,
yeah, you have to
it's a Joss
basically
show. We
work
come
your
back to
way.
his beginnings, and
Yeah, you have
it's
to work
very
your way
humble.
to Firefly because technically this show goes off the air and then Firefly comes. So the production value
Hmm.
at the end of this series is probably closer to the production value at the beginning of Firefly. I mean, obviously
Exactly.
without all of the
Yes.
special effects, but yeah. And one of my memories about people watching the show was when I came out to Los Angeles in 2000, maybe it was 99 2000, to visit all of my college friends, many of whom were already living here, like Sean, my friend Lee. And I remember, what would 2000 have been? What season would that have been
That would
of
have been
Buffy?
the fourth season, college.
Yeah, they were end of third or beginning of fourth, depending on which side of 2000 you're on.
So I remember, I have this memory of going bowling with a bunch of my circle of friends, and Sean's brother Brian, who is a screenwriter. He's written stuff that some stuff that you probably know. But I remember I was talking to him and asking him like what he was watching, and he and his girlfriend were like, "Oh, the best thing on television right now, like unquestionably the best thing on TV right now is Buffy the
Hmm.
Vampire Slayer.
Yes, yes.
And I remember being like, really? And he
It's
was
the
like, it is
title
so
gets you,
good. It is
throws
just
you
like,
off.
it is just edge of your seat. Like, oh my gosh, mind blowing, you know. I was like, wow, okay.
I'm not
For
surprised by
for
that. I have a political science professor that I've had a couple classes with, and we've had some pretty great conversations on a lot of stuff in pop culture, and he especially loves '90s pop culture. He's really a boomer, but he says he's a Gen Xer at heart. So he loves to talk to me about, yeah, Buffy and like feminism around that time, and like the Riot Girl era, and how you could still be feminine but still kick ass at the same time, and he thought that there was something poetic about that with Buffy. And so that's what made me like, that's kind of the final nail in the coffin. Like, that's what made me want to watch this show. I'd always wanted to watch it for a really long time, but his passion for it, his love for it, I was like, yeah, if he likes it, I know I'm not going to be led astray. And
yeah.
so that's why I'm here.
I love
And
So
your
I'm
you
I
know,
love your
John,
use
we
of that.
were
I love that the use of that idiom, the final nail in the coffin for a show about vampires.
nice.
no pun intended.
Um, I, John, when we were at the Babsie's watch for X Files, you brought up the water cooler TV shows,
Hmm.
and this was definitely one of those water cooler shows for the 90s. Like,
Hmm.
you watched Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, it was just all anyone was talking about at school. My mom said people were talking about that Buffy show you watch at my job today. Like, it was definitely that show when it was when.
Yeah, and another thing I think we have to kind of keep in mind as we watch it is that, we touched on this before, but, not that vampires weren't a thing, but they were not a thing on TV in the way, or in pop culture in the way they are now. And like, we had not had a vampire moment yet. Like, there was no True Blood. There was no, like, those books hadn't even been written. I don't even think, like,
Mhm.
like, there was just so little vampire stuff ever in pop culture. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, which came out how many years earlier, was really the only thing that kind of dealt with
I
vampires.
think
And
Interview with the
so,
Vampire had been out too
Interview
by
with the
then.
Vampire,
Yeah.
but like that,
Yeah.
I mean, that was a
Yeah,
huge
Anne
movie and a
Rice.
huge book, but it was
Anne
so
Rice really
serious.
gets the I think that Anne Rice gets huge credit for bringing vampires into
Yeah,
pop culture.
but
Oh,
like,
she does, but it was
but
very
there
like
wasn't anything else. Like, there was not anything else except this. And so, everyone went into this show and that movie, like, with Anne Rice in mind and nothing else. So there was, I think what was really fun about this show, and we get a lot of it in this episode, is like the humor, that it's funny. I mean, the movie was incredibly campy and almost all humor. But like this show is very dramatic, but like Buffy herself is like making jokes as she's killing vampires, and like she's very sassy, and she's such a teenager. Like, she was such a teenager of the time. And so it's funny and it's fun to watch. It's not Interview with the Vampire, where like that movie was like straight up creepy and scary, and the book
Yeah,
was too.
very
I
historical.
Yeah,
that
Like,
and
it
that
doesn't.
this
It certainly
wasn't
doesn't
like
have
that.
the teen young adult like modern. Yeah, it's not like Buffy is definitely like it's definitely like Archie comics meets vampire, but
Yeah, and like
Archie comics meets Anne Rice.
yeah, and the cool thing,
Charlene Harris's troop, those Sookie Stackhouse books,
yeah.
they are much more campy like that than the series. The series is much more serious than those books are. Those books are all pretty goofy, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe
Well, what I
It's
also
also
liked
not really
about
fair to compare it to True Blood, though, because True Blood came off of HBO network, high
right,
budget,
right.
yeah,
high
yeah.
everything.
And what I also like about Buffy is that, and we get that so much in the first episode where Giles is talking to her about, and he's uncovering like, oh, the harvest, and like this is what's happening. Like, they created really their own folklore around vampires, like, so a lot of the rules that we feel apply to like general vampires, like sometimes don't apply, like this is pre-Twilight, this is pre all the other things that, like,
Wait,
this is, we're
wait,
straight up
so wait,
going off like Dracula, like, like that stuff.
so these vampires don't sparkle?
No, they
How
don't
dare
sparkle.
you?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
fact, I, as a Buffy
I'm
fan, I was like anti Twilight because I was like, no, 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 that
now
is not
now
how it goes.
Diana, we do have to give credit to the Vampire Diaries was a book series prior to Buffy being on TV. So there was like a young adult vampire lore out there for people who were reading those because they came out in the early 90s, but there wasn't anything on TV like this. And Joss does have some things that are different with his than other ones do. So
Yeah.
yeah, Diana's totally right in that.
Yeah,
You know,
his lore is, very similar to Anne Rice's. They don't go in the sunlight. You can kill them, with the stake or the fire or whatever. But
Or behead them.
um, yeah, well, the stake isn't actually in the Anne Rice ones. You can't kill him with a stake in there. But like he does derive a bunch of his stuff from Anne Rice. But he just, yeah, like you said, make it's fun. It was, and that's what hooked me. It was a girl who wasn't getting chased down and killed by the vampires. Like she was funny and she had good clothes that I wanted to go find and shop for. And she was, it was really,
And she really just wanted to be a regular teenage girl and
yeah,
live her life, but yet
yeah.
she had this whole other life that she also had to live at the same time.
Well, that's what
The
I love about the first episode is that she's literally trying to run away. Like she's trying to leave it behind, the way that you would leave behind an ex-boyfriend or a bad situation or like, like anything that you don't like about yourself, and she's literally trying to leave it behind and it follows her and she, it's so upsetting that scene with Giles where she's just complaining about like I just wanted to like be a kid and like thought my classes would be hard and now I got to deal with this is the thing that I ran away from, and
hmm
it's just that is so relatable. It's like, yeah, I wish I could leave my old terrible life behind, but like it's who I am and I can't seem to escape it. It's like any other thing that you wouldn't be able to escape.
It does
no,
feel like,
the
oh, sorry. Go on.
oh, I was just gonna say quickly, the other thing about the other shows, like for me, I like all the other shows and movies because they all have a different perspective. The author had a different way of doing it instead of all the same exact way, you know? And
Right.
so I
They're
that's
not
why
all
I
Bram
like
Stoker's Dracula. They all have
right.
their
yeah,
own
that's
kind of
why I like all of them because, you can get a different person's perception of how they think it should go, you know. But the other thing about this is I really like, can we talk about how nice Buffy is to Willow and to Xander and them, even though she could have been mean and been friends with Cordelia, you know?
Yeah, you mean like so she's not really looking at anybody like if they're cool
Loser.
or not cool, the misfits
Yeah,
hmm
or the in crowd. She
yeah,
just wants to make some friends and
yeah.
she meets Willow, she likes Willow. She's,
hmm
not gonna let Cordelia change that about her.
Yeah, I love that about her, and even with Sarah Michelle Gellar, I've seen interviews with her where she is just actually a really nice person too. And I saw her, say that she got to have some of her personality in there too. Like she was able to develop the character.
hmm
She related to that character.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because she had just come off of, I think it was All My Children, where she played Kendra. Um,
Kendall. Kendall.
Kendall, that's it. And that was a very different character than Buffy is. And I think that's why she delivers that speech to Giles so well, because she's like, explain to me how I'm supposed to, fight for my life and not tell anybody, and tell me why I'm supposed to want this duty when I'm just a 16-year-old girl. I don't want to have to worry about this and worry about my life when I'm just supposed to be studying. Like, she does such a good job on that monologue, and you know it's because Sarah really was like, I love this character.
I have a
Do you
question
find it?
about what Xander knows, because that part was also one of those where I kind of like, did I miss something here? When at the very end, when they're like looking for Willow, or when she's looking for Willow, and he like pops out and he's like, he's sort of jokingly referring
He
to her
over
as being a Slayer, and I'm like, I don't really understand, like, how do
he
you know that?
overheard Giles and Buffy talking in the library. So when they had
Oh,
that big conversation after she found the dead body and she goes in to talk to him, Xander's was in the stacks. And when she leaves and Giles walks away, we see him come out and he's like, "What?" So he
oh, okay,
overheard the whole
missed that.
conversation between the two of them where
Yeah.
she was,
Missed
you
that.
know,
I missed a bunch of things. I need to watch it again, even though I was fully like like watching the entire thing. I did not turn away from the screen the entire time. But for whatever reason, there are a variety of things that I just flat out just didn't get.
because you were
This is
thinking
one
about
of those
backflips
shows
and
where,
cartwheels.
yeah, this is one of those shows where even though it's light and we have a lot of comedy, they do throw a lot of information at you sometimes about the lore and then what characters may overhear that may not come back until later. So it's,
Yeah, I was telling Diana, like, I kind of wished we watched the first two together,
Right.
since that's how they were originally aired. I think I'm gonna go back and rewatch this and watch that one back to back.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you could rewatch it just before we watch the next episode.
yeah, just do it Thursday.
Well, also, like, there was just a lot of chatter. Like, I had to turn it down.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
were all very excited. We're
the
gonna tone it down.
first half of the episode, I had to put the headphones on, but both of them on.
I think we
Mm.
all do that once in a while where we get so excited we see actors we know from other things that we start talking about those things when really we probably should just be watching the show or
Yeah,
talking about the show itself.
And I
let's
think for a
admit
show
to the
like this,
show.
where so many of us actually are new to the series, I think it's especially important that at the very least, mm, people know, or kind of are given the permission to turn their volumes down or put their headphones on. It's really comforting being able to watch this with everybody. And so I sometimes don't really even need to be totally engaged in the actual conversation for me to get something out of just watching, knowing that we're all watching it together at the same time.
Well, and a lot of the stuff when we're remarking about where we've seen different actors and stuff before, and I'm not saying I'm innocent of it. I'm guilty of that too. You get excited. It's like, hey, there's that guy from Ted Lasso. Now he's like 30 years older. No, it's kidding.
Mm.
20 years older now than he
Yeah,
was then.
I
But
I think I put
the
my
it's
headphones on by that point. You told me that over text, but that was
yeah,
amazing. I totally did not see that until, I mean, because he's so much older now.
yeah. I didn't think
But
you'd recognize him initially, but
no, not at
when I
all.
saw him on Lasso, I was like, is that Giles? And Jason's like,
Hmm.
from Buffy, and I'm like, yeah, I think it is.
And Rita from
Completely different
Dexter.
character too. Like
Yeah,
couldn't be more opposite from
yeah.
this character. And so so yeah, I actually didn't recognize him. Partly I didn't recognize him because of the age, but I also just didn't recognize him. The performance was totally different.
Yeah, he's very different character in this than a lot of things I've seen him in. And but to me, because this is one of the first things that I saw him in, like where I actually would recognize him from something, to me, he's always Giles from Buffy. But I think sometimes some of the things that we're seeing when we see people on screen, maybe we should comment a little less on since there are so many people who haven't seen it before. And I will try not to do that myself during these
My,
watches because there are a lot of actors in these
There are
shows that
tons
are
of
in
actors
other
that are going to be in this
things.
show.
Yeah,
yeah,
that are in
I
other things.
I think that the it's not so much like, commenting here and there. It's that sometimes what happens is that it becomes sort of a snowball effect where suddenly, like, everyone's chiming in around the same time, and then it just creates a sort of wall of chatter that is completely covering the episode. And also, this was our largest couch. We actually put in that restriction of having a specific number on the couch because early on we discovered
Hmm.
during the Gilmore watches that when we have over a certain threshold of people, it actually does become chatty to a point that's hard to actually concentrate on the episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
think I
kind
was
of lost
adding
track.
people to the couch without really counting because I wasn't expecting so many people to come up. So we're gonna
I mean,
have to
it's really
definitely go back
exciting.
to
Yeah.
the 15.
It's super exciting. I mean, it seems like this is a show that I didn't really I didn't realize it until we started promoting it that this is a show that seems like we have a lot of community members, and potentially we can actually see, maybe we can bring in new members. I know that Diane was mentioning that there is a podcast that's called like Gilmore Slayers or something like that,
Buffy the
or
Gilmore
something.
Slayer. It's so
Buffy the Gilmore
good.
Slayers, and they might be great folks to ask if they would join us and give us some of their insight as well. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
if that sounds interesting, but
and
I would be into it.
there's a whole Facebook group with thousands of people that we can put in. Like, it's a huge community, and this definitely has the room to grow. If once we're ready for that, like, yeah, it's I mean, people, and it's nostalgia. I was telling Chris before, like, it for me being a teenager watching this, it was like Joss was reading my diary and writing episodes specifically for me. So much of what happened to Buffy throughout the entire series, I was going through at the exact same time. So
Yeah, but I agree that there's like a huge community of it. There's also like a massive brown coat community, but it was not it proved more difficult than I thought to tap into that community. Whereas what seems interesting here is that there is kind of this Gilmore Girls overlap with this show, that like the fans of this show, that there's a large number of them that are fans of that, and then just the idea that there's a podcast that's called like Buffy the Gilmore Slayer or Gilmore the Buffy Slayer, whatever it's called, is just really interesting, because that could we could this could be a really interesting bridge show for the project that
mhm.
helps us bring in a new fandom that you know using Gilmore Girls as this bridge towards it, which I feel like we haven't really been able to do with any of the Slate shows so far. Mostly because I just don't think that there was enough overlap between the fan communities.
Well, actually, I
And
have a
like I said,
question
it
for.
helped that it
So,
came on the same network at the same time, for sure, and it was the same demographic as well.
Also,
what was
What were
I
that?
you
invited my.
Wait? What were
I
you going to
don't know. I
say?
seem
What
to.
What were you going to say, Tiffany? I'm sorry. I saw Hunter go, but I also saw Tiffany was trying to say.
I was just going to ask Chris and Hunter, and actually maybe Diana will know. My sister loved this show, and I wasn't really into it when it first came out. And she started writing fan fiction, and it was the first time I ever heard about fan fiction. And I know there was like Star Trek fan fiction, but I wonder if if Buffy was kind of the catalyst for that whole young adult fan fiction.
I
I'll
feel like
say
it was.
I think so too. And I'll say
Yeah.
this. I like this was around the time that like people were getting online and talking to other people like through websites and stuff. Like it was so new.
Hmm.
And I remember at the time, like this was peak GeoCities like fan pages of stuff. Like if anybody remembers that, like, I remember going through like Buffy fan websites like crazy. Just people like posting pictures, episode guides, stuff like that. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing like I remember hearing about fan fiction. I just wasn't really into it. But like this was people had their own Buffy pages. That was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. But also like the internet, like as a consumer resource was also pretty new.
It was a magical time on the net.
It really, and I don't know if anyone remembers, like, there was that website, Television Without Pity.
Yeah.
Um, it was the first like a website where people they had specific people watching shows and doing recaps of every single scene, every single episode for all the TV shows that were on. And the Buffy one was just huge. Um, because again, like for all the reasons we talked about. But yeah, the fanfic stuff definitely. I don't know if this was the first, but I feel like it was the first time I saw that, and it was talked about in, like the AOL chat rooms and everything. Like, yeah.
So
Um,
I'm just like browsing, like skimming as quickly as I can the Wikipedia fan fiction article, and it says that that, I mean, obviously fan fiction has a much older history that goes back to like the 1800s, but like this more modern form of it that comes with the internet, um really, like, it kind of begins with like Usenet groups and like electronic mailing lists before we kind of get to the internet that we all kind of know. Um and in 98 is when the not-for-profit site fanfiction.net came online. 98, so that is already a year into Buffy, and it would likely have been a a show that was on that site on fanfiction.net, and it
For
might have
sure.
been one of the bigger ones, right? Like
Hmm.
so I actually think that's a pretty good theory, that Buffy, whether it just happened to be at the right place, the right time, at the same time when the internet was sort of coming into its own, and a site like fanfiction.net kind of you know happens, which might have been catering more towards Star Trek fans, and the types of folks who had been writing fan fiction until then, which was mostly science fiction nerds, and also like like fantasy classics folks, like folks who were really into like Alice in Wonderland and all of that kind of stuff. Um, but it seems to make a lot of sense that this show would have dominated any like first generation fan fiction platforms that like came about in the late 90s.
The WB also used to have their own message boards. So like when I used to watch the WB shows in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I was a serious insomniac back. Anyway, they had these message boards that you could go on where people, the fans of the shows, could talk, and they had message boards for each show, and then they had threads within the message boards for each, like whatever topic people would bring up. And people would write their fan fiction in there. They discuss the show. They talk about their favorite characters. I mean, like the WB really promoted people communicating with each other from around the world about their shows on their own website. You just had to sign up,
Yeah.
make a username and all that, and it was huge. And there was like the two that I would interact with most were Buffy and Gilmore Girls. Obviously, Gilmore Girls came a little later than Buffy, but they did overlap at some point, and there were people that would write on both boards for both those shows because they would watch them both. And I think at one time Buffy and Gilmore Girls aired on the same night for a little while, I think. But
Well,
anyway,
and also, past
yeah.
2000, when you get into the millennium, that then you start to see fan fiction for Lord of the Rings. You start to see, I'm sure there was already fan fiction in the late 90s for Harry Potter. um, I mean, I know Babsy was a big Lord of the Rings fan fiction writer. Like
Mm.
she wrote tons of Lord of the Rings fan fiction in like the early aughts.
Oh, were you? I saw you were flashing down there. Sorry. Were you?
Oh yeah, well, like I've already outed myself as a fan fiction writer and reader.
And performer.
And so on fanfiction.net, two of the biggest communities were Star Trek and X Files. Because X Files was the first fan fiction that was uploaded on the site, but Buffy was huge too. I remember reading Buffy fan fiction, kind of around that like late 90s ish. I don't recall Harry Potter fan fiction at that point. That really became a big thing around the time of like the first movie, because that
Yeah.
was like you're into like the third book kind of around that time. But there was a lot of interesting things for fan fiction that kind of like went alongside this, and I feel like a lot of, depending on what your age range was, it was definitely really easy to find different different types of fan fiction that would appeal more to like your age. Like I definitely read a lot of Buffy fan fiction that was aimed more towards like kids, because I was 10 at the time when this first season aired, and kind of like grew up a little bit with the show as I watched it. And there were certain characters and stuff, not to spoil anything. So there's certain characters and pairings. But what was also really big around this time was Pokemon fan fiction. It
Ooh.
was huge. It was massive. It was one of the big dominating thing, which is probably not something a
Right.
lot of people would think of, but it was one of the biggest
That's
like
right.
topics
You
for
know,
fan
in the
fiction.
late 90s, I remember going to visit my aunt and cousins, and my little cousin, I remember, was super into Pokemon. Like it was everywhere. And I want to say he was writing stuff like that.
Well, and they didn't just do
That's
fan
so
fiction though.
weird.
They did a lot of fan art around this show. There was an insane amount of fan art for the, and I'm sure there is for other ones too. But I always thought that was interesting because some of the fan fiction or the people that I interacted with on the message boards, they didn't just do the writing, but they did drawings and all. Like they were making their own version of a comic book relating to Buffy sometimes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and there's
true.
like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's like also like different fan niches of fan fiction, like different
Mm-hmm.
styles of it, right? Like placing yourself in it, shipping characters that aren't
That aren't
necessarily on the
together, yeah.
show.
The weird
You know,
side character that they wish there was more about.
yeah, right, doing that, or just extending like a storyline that didn't get the fulfilled ending that maybe fans wanted. Um, I find the most fascinating the ones where fans put themselves into the actual story as well. That I think that's super fascinating.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are giving it a chance. And those of you that are still on the fence, I really hope you give it a few more episodes. I know we have Kendra at least through episode 3 because she wants to see what happens
Yeah, I
with.
was just gonna say Kendra's here at least through the third episode. So
Kendra,
Yeah.
you're gonna be with us to the end of season 2 and beyond. I'm convinced of it. So much so that I would even be willing to wager.
oh,
No, I'm kidding. I'm
oh,
not
I
wagering.
you know I'm
I'm
confident.
already I'm already
I
gonna
pers
lose to Hunter, I think. I don't know.
I personally do think that Kendra, if she stuck it out, there are seasons down the line that I think she would really, really like. And just based on the little I know about what she does like now, and I appreciate that you're giving it a shot, Kendra, because I asked you to, and I know that you like that I am giving that American Horror Story the next round a shot too. So we're kind of like trying to get each other to get into other things. So I really do appreciate that.
I'm just looking
Absolutely.
forward. I'm looking forward to when the storyline gets to a place where I don't already kind of feel like I kind of know what's going to happen here, and I kind of get like I want it to get to the place where I'm like, oh, whoa, oh my goodness, oh my
hmm
goodness. Like I kind of have a
yeah,
feeling that that's going to happen.
There are
it'll
those
happen.
moments. You guys have no idea how hard it is to like to
It's
not
so
talk
hard,
about the show, to not say more.
and like
I Because
we're on this
John lists off
season
all
that I'm
his
just like,
questions. Yeah,
yeah, well, I'm
all
just trying
those
to like get
questions,
through this
Hunter.
season.
I
John gives us like 8 questions. I'm like, I can't answer one of those questions without ruining something. Oh,
I do think that I my theory, I'm going to throw a theory out, an early Cabrera theory that won't be able to really come to full fruition until the end of the series, is that I think that Buffy will lose a lot of I think she will lose a lot of people over the course of this journey.
Isn't that like
Like
every television show? That's not
no,
a
but I think that
fiction.
this one in particular is going to come with like a lot of loss and heartache for the character, because I feel like that's sort of set up there at the very beginning, with this like I just want to be normal, and it's like no, you can't, and it's like she's destined to be a slayer. That's her role. That was what was like placed on her, but it comes, it has this great responsibility, and you're doing all these these really important things for the world and for humanity, but the sacrifices, like you lose all these people that you love along the way.
It's just like Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, and some great loss of people that you care about.
Well, and also some reluctance, right? Like that's what I think is the coolest thing about any superhero story, is that there's a certain amount of reluctance too,
Yeah,
that
that's
it's
hero's journey though.
out of you. Yeah.
That's like classic hero's journey. Hero
I
doesn't
love
want to
it.
do it, doesn't want to do it. Yeah, I know. I like it too. Um, but I have a feeling that she's gonna lose some folks. I'm guessing she'll probably lose Willow at some point. I'm guessing that she'll probably lose Xander at some point. She already lost that other guy. Who was that guy? Did he die? I don't know, or did he just get bitten?
Oh, Jesse.
Xander and Willow took him out of the
Speculation.
crypt. We do not know what happened to Jesse yet.
Jesse, that's his name. Um, I'm embarrassed. He's an actor on other stuff. I have never seen him on
He
anything.
does look different now. Kendra was not wrong when she said that. I don't know if you heard her say that, but he does look, he grew up and he looks
Oh,
different. But yeah,
okay.
he's done a lot of other work.
Because I feel like I've seen like all of these actors, like the actor who plays Xander and Willow. Like I feel like I've seen, like, even though I wasn't watching the show, that like I've seen him on posters and I've just seen him in magazines, but just never had seen that guy. So I was like, oh, that guy's
Is he the
dying.
one that
That
I
guy.
said was in 6 Feet Under? Did you
Yes,
Yes.
watch?
yes.
Did
Yeah.
you watch 6 Feet
I
Under?
I didn't. I didn't. I didn't.
Oh,
Babsy
I
watched it.
you would love that show. It's so good.
I
It's
popped in on a
such a good
few
show.
episodes, and I did pop in on a few episodes, and it is a really good show.
You really have to
I'm
watch
pretty
that one.
sure I would love that show. But
And if you
um,
like Dexter with Michael C. Hall, then you'd have to.
oh yes, that's
He's
right.
really
That's
good on
Shelley,
right.
there too.
Shelley, is this Matthew fellow down below with you, like your friend?
No, I don't know who he is.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. Like, there's another man in the room. Hello,
Hi, Matthew.
Matthew, and everybody else down below. I'm not trying to ignore anybody in particular. I thought maybe you knew him because
I
I don't know
followed him
why.
because we're supposed to follow new people to make them feel welcome. Wasn't that part of like the whole thing here? You're supposed to follow new people, that way they can come up and talk and stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Certainly a nice thing to do.
Yeah, but y'all
But
talk too much. Y'all, like, I keep getting notifications all day.
well, anyway, Matthew, I hope if you continue to watch this with us, you come up and share your viewpoints at some point too, because John could use a little
Yeah, we
support.
need some more guys up here.
Hey, you are most welcome.
My husband did watch like the second half of it with us, but he abandoned he abandoned
The
Clubhouse because it
poster.
was making his old phone crash and stuff. So
I'm looking at
he
Matthew.
deleted all that stuff.
I'm looking at Matthew's username, and it's Race9,000, and I'm wondering if he's a Dragonlance fan.
Okay, well, that feels stalkerish, John. Like, what are you doing right now?
That's very It's very stalkerish.
So, does anybody else who hasn't really said a whole lot have anything they want to share with us about the first episode and what they think so far? Or don't want to leave anybody out who might have something they want to say?
Well, I'm actually going to have to head out here in a sec, but I will say that that I think that the first episode is a lot of fun. I still feel like it kind of throws you in expecting that a bunch of stuff. I don't know. I totally like get that I'm going to learn a lot of that information and that I should just be patient. But usually when a show kind of gives you a bunch of question marks that they're going to fill in those answers, they do it in a way that it makes it very clear that these are questions that you should be prepared to learn a little later. And a
Or
lot of
they're
the
called
questions,
Lost.
yeah, a lot of the
Lost,
questions
Lost threw
here.
us right into the beginning,
Yeah,
or
but no,
right
but
into it.
yeah, but I know, but Lost, like every one of those questions, it was so clear. Everyone was like, "What? Like, what's going on here?" Whereas here, a lot of the questions really did feel like they were presented in a way that I really felt like there was something that was before this that I
Hmm.
missed. And so that's my only critique to this pilot episode, really. Um, Aside from the fact that it certainly feels a bit dated from a production quality standpoint, but just from a script perspective, it did have me a little thrown off a bit, because I was sort of like, I constantly kept second guessing whether or not I was listening enough, or whether I knew what was going on, because a bunch of stuff seemed to be presented like big things, like burning down a school, and I'm a
Hmm.
a
Do you
vampire,
think you
I'm a
felt
slayer.
that way though?
that that
Because you knew
it
there was
just
a
felt to
movie?
me like there was something before this that I was supposed to have watched.
But do you think you felt that way because you know there was a movie, or do you feel that
No,
way?
no, I feel that I would have, the fact that I know that there was a movie actually gives it a little bit more of a pass for me. If I didn't know that there was a movie, I think I would have been even more confused. I think I would have been, I think I would have probably felt like, wait a second, I got to rewatch this. I
Yeah.
completely missed a bunch of things that would have made the fact that she's already a vampire slayer from the very beginning make a lot
Hmm.
more sense. That it was just, there were a variety of things that were just like nonchalantly talked about at the very beginning that
Yeah.
seemed so big plot wise. Especially since I thought going into this that I was going to get a bit of an origin story, and it felt kind of like, oh, the origin story is already passed. You missed it. You
I
know?
think
That
I
weird
think
little.
that's why I got so hooked in this, because I didn't watch the movie. I don't even know if I really knew there was a movie, but because I was just like, wait, what happened? How is she like this? Why? And I think that's why I kept watching, was because we're thrown into this new school with her and she already has stuff, and I was like, okay, eventually I guess they're gonna explain it, but let's just see.
We learn about
Shelley, what were
her
you gonna
like the
say?
other characters do.
Oh, I just that
Yeah.
that the how it like that begin. I didn't even like the beginning. Like I couldn't even. I didn't even know what the first line was, and I started it right as it started. But that whatever they said in the beginning was very quick, and I didn't know what that intro was, and I felt like, was that supposed to be that way? I didn't really like how that started with that little. Will it have that intro every episode then?
It's the same
That weird
intro
little.
for every episode, so you'll catch it. You'll
Yeah,
start to
just
say it
close
Did they
eventually.
say the
just
same
close
thing
your eye,
or?
just close your eyes, put your fingers in your ears for the first like 2 seconds of the
Yeah, did they
episode.
say the same thing each episode, or do they say
Yes.
Yeah,
something
they
different?
do. And
Okay,
that's why it's so quick.
but so
Yeah.
the movie was out before the show.
Yeah, a few years
I must
before.
have lived under a rock. I just feel like when these shows were on, I was in high school and I was busy and I worked like 24 hours a week and I was in band and stuff, and I think I had no time to watch television like at all. And then when I got my apartment when in 98, like I didn't have cable, so I didn't watch anything. So I feel like for several years I must have missed a lot of shows.
You
Whereas
missed
at
some
my
development, girl.
band practice, we were all talking about Buffy.
Me
So
too. I
Well,
was talking about it at work,
I
at dance
worked
practice,
I
all of it.
worked like almost every night. I wasn't in any sort of band thing, and I did homework, and that was always took up like 4 hours a night or something stupid.
Yeah, this show, like I said, it was so big. My mom didn't watch the show at the time. She has since watched the whole thing 3 times over the last 5 years. That's how much she loves it. But like when I was watching it in high school, she was coming home to me and go, "So I guess that episode last night of Buffy was good because my boss was talking about it." Like that's how big it was. It was.
Yeah, I feel pretty. I know that this show will transform from in terms of the writing, and in terms of the production value, and in terms of like just all of it. I know it's going to transform by the end of season 2. So I'm sort of giving it some passes here in the beginning with with some of the camp and some of the low production quality and whatnot, just because I kind of know where this is going. But just like I said, like for me, that I love shows that pose a lot of questions that have you going like, wow, what's this? I can't wait to find out what's going to happen next. But usually for me, it's written in a way that allows you, the viewer, to feel safe knowing okay, you're in the same boat as everybody else. Nobody knows what's going on here. Whereas this one just didn't feel that way. It felt
Hmm.
like it made me feel insecure about, did I miss something here? And that was
Right.
the only real negative critique I have about the pilot, which was that I felt like I was trying to keep up. And yes, I was also like trying to hear it as well at times,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like some of those things, I still was kind of like, oh, okay, I guess
Yeah.
I'll have to find out what happens there. But it still felt like a lot of information sort of thrown in that I was supposed to know about. And
I would definitely say watch it again for sure. And then also like we have to remember again, like this is baby Joss. Like so this is his first
yes.
show and so he hadn't honed that pilot
and
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 everything
that's
yet.
exciting to me. Also, that's really exciting because this show made him,
Yes.
in regards to as a writer, and to and the idea that we'll get to actually watch over the course of how many seasons again? 9,
7.
7.
7. Over the course of 7 seasons, to watch like a writer learn how to be a really great television writer is kind of exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 years. I mean, that's basically undergrad and grad school. So that's
Mhm.
cool.
And you feel it too like as the seasons go on like you feel the growth and you feel the universe get, you know,
Bigger.
larger, you know.
That
Yeah,
you get the history too. It's
Yeah,
like,
you get a lot
because in this episode there's history that you're not aware of, as you're saying, and so you wonder, what is this history? Why are these things going on? And that gets built in to the
over
series as it
7
goes.
whole seasons. Like not immediately, you're
Yeah,
not going to get like one episode where you get things like
he
it
doesn't drop it
develops
all in your lap tomorrow kind of thing, but and I think it's well worth the time if you watch it and you like the characters. I mean, it is very character drama like. It just happens to be set in a supernatural fantasy sort of world.
yeah.
I don't know. I appreciate you all joining.
I do too. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
So
Yes,
good to
It
see
was
yes.
you again,
great to
Veronica.
see you again, Veronica.
Oh, so good to be back, guys. Great to see you.
Okay, I'm
Well,
heading out. I think we're
yeah, I'm
closing the
heading out
room.
as well. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow night for the first episode of season 2 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. On Wednesday morning, we have another watch of episode 1, season 2 of Maisel for our European family. And then we are back with Buffy on Thursday. Sherry and Julie are going to be hosting, and it's also Julie's birthday on Thursday, so there might be some serenading going on.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Uh, yeah, I
See
hope
you
that we
then.
can.
Have a great night.
Yeah, have a great night. I hope to see everybody there on Thursday at the very least for the next episode of this show, and let's see if we can't grow this watch the way that we did Gigi.
Awesome.
Thanks. And I can't wait to see what you think of season 2, episode 1 of Maisel.
Oh yeah, I love that show. All right, everyone, talk soon.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Night.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.